So, jar tuners, have you ever wondered what's really going on inside your head? Like when we get emotional after watching a sad puppy video, or when we rage quit after losing a game? Well, according to Pixar, there are these tiny guys in your head that flip and push buttons, basically running the show. And by now, you might have guessed it, we're talking about Inside Out, where Riley is guided by a team of emotions: joy, sadness, anger, fear, disgust, and a bunch of other emotions that shape who she is. Today, we'll be covering both Inside Out and its sequel, Inside Out 2. So grab your popcorn and get ready for a roller coaster ride of fun, laughter, and for a couple of emotional moments on the way. Don't judge me if I cry. I know that you'll be sobbing too. The first movie kicks off with Joy, the sunshiny leader of Riley's emotions, who's all about, you guessed it, keeping Riley happy. She makes baby Riley smile for the first time. But as she's enjoying the moment, sadness shows up as well. Makes her cry, forcing Joy to take control of the situation. We're then introduced to the other emotions, and first up is fear, an extreme worrywart who wants to keep Riley safe and sound. This guy probably keeps a list of things to panic about. Followed by that, we've got Disgust, Riley's personal germaphobe and a sworn enemy of broccoli. And finally, we're introduced to Anger, who's always ready to explode at the smallest thing. These emotions are kind of like a sort of dysfunctional family, but instead of arguing at the dinner table, they're trying to run a kid's brain. Surely nothing will go wrong, right? Joy explains that whenever something happens to Riley, one of her emotions reacts, creating a memory ball. These memories are stored in these glowing spheres, and the most important ones are the core memories. And these aren't just special, as they form the cornerstone of Riley's entire personality. They also operate as a sort of generator that keeps the stuff in Riley's mind running, like Honesty Island, Friendship Island, Hockey Island, Goofball Island, and Family Island. Joy and the emotions start up another day, and Joy finds herself optimistic about Riley's life now that she's turned 11. Nothing could go wrong.
We love our girl. Oh, she's got great friends and a great house. Things couldn't be better.
You see, Riley's father gets a new job, and the family moves to San Francisco. Unfortunately, the house turns out to be a total bummer and is in awful shape. I mean, come on, there's a dead mouse on the floor. To make matters worse, the moving van is delayed, which puts the emotions in a panic. Joy pulls out a happy memory to try and break the tension, and that works for a bit, until Riley's father gets a call, which spoils the moment. Joy takes out another memory, reminding Riley of lunch, which again turns into a disaster, as the only pizza they serve in the store is with broccoli.
The heck is that?
Who puts broccoli on pizza?
That's it. I'm done.
Yeah, Riley's arch nemesis, which of course doesn't help at all. Honestly, who even does that to pizza? Ew. As they walk back home, Riley and her mother reminisce about a dinosaur trip, and things start brightening up a little bit. However, sadness touches the memory ball, turning it blue and making it a sad moment. Joy freaks out, understandably, and asks Sadness to not touch the core memories as they can't be changed later. The next day, it's Riley's first day of school, and Joy goes full-on control freak. She literally draws a chalk circle for Sadness, telling her to stay here and not to touch anything.
See? You're a pro at this. Isn't this fun? No. Attagirl.
But guess what? That chalk doesn't really work. When Riley's homeroom teacher asks her to introduce herself, Sadness takes over, and Riley ends up crying in front of the class, turning the core memory blue. As Joy tries to chuck it away, Sadness refuses to give up the control and messes it up. In the end, all the core memories get knocked and sucked into a tube, and so do Joy and Sadness. Now back on the dinner table, Riley and her father's emotions, yes, they all have mustaches too, run rampant as their respective anger takes control, leading to a heated argument. Long story short, it doesn't really end well, as Riley storms off to her room. Her dad tries to lighten up the mood by being goofy to cheer her up, but Riley's not really having it and ignores him, causing the Goofball Island to collapse. R.I.P. Goofball Island, you'll be missed, sorely missed. Meanwhile, Joy and Sadness find themselves in long-term memory, which is like a giant maze of old memories. However, Sadness is a bit reluctant as she's apparently too sad to walk. But Joy's not buying it and drags her around to reach the headquarters. But before Joy could reach the HQ, Riley wakes up and has a call with her friend. After knowing that her friend got a new best friend, Anger is pissed, causing Riley to abruptly shut the laptop, and along with that, Friendship Island completely crumbles. These islands falling like this are essentially Riley falling apart. The move has taken so much out of her. Joy's visibly sad and can't understand what Riley's going through. As she proceeds to drag Sadness around, she meets Bing Bong, Riley's old imaginary friend. At first, he tries to flee, but Joy tells him that she's a huge fan and introduces herself.
I'm part cat, part elephant, part dolphin.
Dolphin?
Hearing that they're from HQ, Bing Bong agrees to help, and the trio head to the station in Imagination Land. But to reach there, they have to use this shortcut, which looks a bit sketchy. According to Sadness, she's against the idea of using it, but Joy brushes it off.
DANGER, shortcut. I'll prove it to you.
But as soon as they enter in, they start to take different shapes, and eventually turn into these non-figurative shapes. Finally, after a long struggle that saw their shapes morphed and stretched all over the place, they make it out, and find the train of thought moving on to the next station. The trio reach Imagination Land, and Bing Bong shows off the French fries forest, Cloud Town, and his pride and joy, the rocket wagon, which is powered by singing. Because who needs gas when you can power it with your wonderful voice? You know, if you have one. And now back to Riley. She's having a tough time, as anger, fear, and disgust struggle to keep things in order during hockey practice. And inevitably, Hockey Island comes crashing down. Back in Imagination Land, things get worse, as Bing Bong's wagon is thrown into the memory dump, the place where old memories go when they're forgotten. This saddens him, and Joy tries to cheer him up, but it fails. Sadness joins Bing Bong, and both talk about the good old days, making him feel better. The trio hop on the train of thought, thinking they're one step closer to fixing things up, but nope. The train doesn't run while Riley's asleep. That's pretty clever, actually. That makes a lot of sense. No one's thinking while they're snoozing. Duh. Since they have to wait for Riley to wake up, the trio decide to take a trip to Dream Productions, where dreams and nightmares are made. They decide to wake Riley up, but end up failing miserably, with Bing Bong being thrown into what looks like a place with Riley's darkest fears. Joy and Sadness find him trapped in a balloon prison on top of a clown's belly. Ugh. Yeah, that's definitely not in my bucket list for sure. Anyway, they help Bing Bong escape, but they still need to wake Riley up. And what better way than unleashing a scary giant clown? They disturb the clown, who goes on to break into the dream set, making Riley wake up.
Who's the birthday girl?
With Riley finally awake, they board the train of thought, and the trio are back on track to headquarters. Kinda messed up, dude. Forcing a nightmare with clowns onto poor old Riley? Meanwhile, the other emotions wake up too, and Anchor comes up with a genius plan. And what is it, you ask? Oh, just making Riley, this little 11-year-old girl, run away to Minnesota to fix everything. Because running away solved the problem, right? But in order to catch a bus to Minnesota, Riley actually needs money. So she steals her mom's credit card, and when she does that, the Honesty Island crumbles into the memory dump, dragging the train of thought along with it. With only Family Island left, Joy, Sadness, and Bing Bong rush towards it before it crumbles too. They spot the recall tube and make their way towards it. However, while doing so, Sadness accidentally touches the memory ball, causing it to turn blue. Seeing this, Joy stops her, as she might cause the rest of the memories to turn blue. Poor Sadness can't believe that Joy's leaving her behind. But as soon as she departs, the tube starts breaking down, flinging Joy and Bing Bong into the memory dump. Meanwhile, Riley leaves for the bus station, unbeknownst to her parents. Down in the memory dump, Joy's on the brink of giving up. While she's looking back at the old memories, she stumbles across a sad memory of Riley losing a hockey game. Initially, it's just blue when Riley cries after missing a shot, but Joy notices that after Riley's teammates and parents comfort her, the memory actually turns happy, and that's when she realizes that Sadness isn't useless at all. With this information, she teams up with Bing Bong to escape from the memory dump. They use his rocket wagon to launch themselves out of the dump, but no matter how hard they try, they keep falling short. After failing multiple times, Bing Bong realizes that only one person can make it out, so he sacrifices himself and jumps out of it mid-launch so Joy can escape.
Go save Riley.
Finally, the rocket soars out of the dump, and Joy waves goodbye to Bing Bong, who fades away. Oh, yeah, I saw this one coming. I mean, no, I'm not crying. It's just, sadness is messing with my emotion controls. Anyway, without wasting a second, Joy races to find Sadness, as she's the only one who can help her out. However, Sadness is in deep self-doubt mode, thinking that all she's capable of is ruining Riley's life like pineapple on pizza. She tries to run away, but Joy isn't giving up. With the help of imaginary boyfriends from Imagination Island, she launches herself towards Sadness, grabbing her as they fly back to HQ. Back in the headquarters, things have gotten a little bit messy. I mean, really messy, with Riley no longer listening to the emotions. Right then, Joy and Sadness burst in, and the other emotions are finally relieved and expect Joy to save the day. But much to their surprise, Joy steps back, allowing Sadness to take the lead. Sadness takes control, and Riley's emotions balance out as she gets off the bus, realizing that she doesn't really want to run away. Now back at home, Riley breaks down, confessing that she misses her old life, making her parents admit that they miss it too. Joy hands the core memory balls to Sadness, creating a deeply emotional event and a new core memory, which has both yellow and blue, rejuvenating Family Island. With the emotions now working in tandem, the islands are back in action, along with a few more new islands.
Fashion Island? Everyone shut up.
As Riley starts to adapt to her new life in San Francisco, Joy reveals that she has turned 12 and wonders what will happen next. And 9 years later, we get that answer with Inside Out 2. Even though 9 years have passed for us, only one for Riley. That's right, little Riley is growing up and she's now 13 years old. The movie starts with Riley playing hockey with the emotions hyping her up. However, she ends up on the bench for tripping, and using this moment, Joy explains that Riley now has this fancy sense of self basement, which uses her memories to form beliefs. And yeah, there's also a voice in her head that keeps reminding her that she's a good person.
I'm a really good friend.
It's basically like having your own life coach without the hourly fees, you know? Now back to the match, the emotions are worried about what to do next. Right then, the sense of self motivates her, and her team ends up winning the match. Later, the coach informs Riley that they're going to a hockey camp, which excites her, though she's a little nervous about messing things up. Her parents comfort her, and Joy chucks that awkward memory along with other cringeworthy stuff to the back of her mind. That night, the emotions abruptly get woken up by, wait for it, the puberty alarm. They actually have an actual alarm for that? With the alarm showing no sign of stopping, Joy shoves it and throws it to the back of the mind. If that wasn't enough, the workers swarm the HQ and start remodeling the control board, ominously suggesting that they've got some new arrivals. The next day, Riley meets up with Grace and Bree, and the trio are stoked about making to the high school team. Right then, Disgust spots something off as Grace drops the bombshell that she along with Bree are going to a different high school. However, Riley brushes it off, but deep inside she's broken, and so is Sadness. When Riley heads to join her friends, she bumps into Val Ortiz, and starts to act strangely, surprising the emotions. And that is when we're introduced to new emotions.
Hello, everybody!
First up is the queen of worst-case scenarios, anxiety. Simply put, she's like fear, but on steroids. Next up, we meet envy, who's salty about what others have, as we all know. Then we have embarrassment, who prefers to be silent and is literally so shy that he can't even decide whether to fist bump or shake hands. Talk about an embarrassing situation. Then we've got ennui, or disinterest, who's a chill, phone-obsessed couch potato who remote controls the board. And finally, we're introduced to nostalgia, who's literally sent off the same way that she arrived.
But I will keep you in the loop, I promise. Hey!
Bye, nostalgia. We miss you already. The new emotions take control of the situation and try to make Riley look cool in front of Val. Anxiety explains her job to Joy, telling her that she protects Riley from any and all potential problems as she makes up some ridiculously unrealistic situations, which makes Riley look awful. But Joy isn't buying it, and tells Anxiety she's overthinking everything. Yeah, that's kinda how that works. Now back to Riley, Val introduces her to her teammates, and Riley continues to make up stuff to fit in. Seeing this, Joy takes control of the board, making Riley talk with her friends and start acting goofy, which doesn't really sit well with the coach. After practice, Riley overhears Val's teammates bad-mouthing her, making her upset. Making use of the opportunity, Anxiety swoops in and makes Riley talk to Val, who invites her to join her team. However, as Riley proceeds to move towards Val's team, her sense of self stops her, which pisses off Anxiety. So like any other anxious person, she removes it and tosses it into the back of the mind. That's right, Anxiety has shoved Riley's sense of self aside. I mean, the analogy is plain as day. It's part of what makes these movies so good. It's like the one-to-one metaphors. It's phenomenal. Joy can't believe it, but Anxiety isn't done yet. With the help of embarrassment, she bottles up joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust, shipping them to the vault. Again, the analogy is plain as day. With Joy out of the picture, Anxiety starts creating a new sense of self. Back to OG emotions, they meet up with Bluefy from Riley's preschool show, Lance Slashblade, an overdramatic video game character, and Deep Dark Secret, who doesn't talk much. Because, well, it's a secret.
Oh, that's Riley's deep, dark secret.
What is the secret?
With the help of Deep Dark Secret, they escape from the bottle, and Pouchy blows open the exit. While the emotions set off to find Riley's sense of self, Anxiety pushes Riley to practice harder and get acknowledged by Val. Meanwhile, the emotions find themselves in the stream of consciousness, and Joy forces Sadness to get into the recall tube to head back to HQ. As they surf through the stream with the help of a broccoli, you heard it right, a broccoli, Riley tries to act sarcastic, which opens up a freaking canyon. With no other option, the OG emotions are forced to take the long way as they wander through Riley's long-term memory. However, by now, Joy's had enough and admits that she's exhausted from trying to be positive and perfect. This catches the emotions off guard, but it's anger who steps up, motivating her to not give up. Back in the HQ, embarrassment finds sadness hiding behind the books, but doesn't report it to anxiety. Instead, he helps her to hide and pretends to not know anything. Meanwhile, Joy and the rest of the group finally reach the Imagination Land. While they look around the place, Joy finds out that Anxiety is running an army of workers whose main job is to create a picture of every possible thing that might go wrong for Riley. This makes Riley overwhelmed, who struggles to get sleep, as Anxiety plays different scenarios to her mind. Seeing this, Joy and the gang sneak in and start drawing positive ideas instead. Anxiety figures out that Joy's behind it and sends the mind police after them. Yeah, Riley's mind even has cops too. Who knew? The OG emotions escape using a balloon, while Anxiety pushes Riley to sneak into the coach's room to have a peek of the notebook to know whether she's on the team or not. Sadness contacts Joy and tells her about Anxiety's plan of breaking into the office. Hearing this, Joy asks Sadness to stop her without getting caught. She manages to stop Riley for a moment using Ennui's phone, but Anxiety quickly finds her out and hangs her up. Riley finds out that the coach has decided that she's not ready yet. This puts Anxiety in a deep state of confusion and orders for a lot of ideas. I mean, a lot of them. And none of them are good ideas, because, they're fueled by anxiety. Basically, trash talking the other team and other bad ideas. You get my point. Of course, Anxiety's not satisfied and demands a bigger idea. And boy, she gets a big one. Now back to Riley, she colors her hair red and shows it off to Val, who asks if she's alright. Definitely not, she's not okay. Meanwhile, the OG emotions finally find their way to the back of the mind and spot Riley's sense of self. Unfortunately, it's too late, as Anxiety has already created a new sense of self, which starts echoing that she's not good enough. Great job, Anxiety, you really crushed this one, knocked it out of the park.
Not good enough.
While Anxiety scrambles to clean up the mess, Sadness escapes with the help of embarrassment and tries to get the OG emotions back to HQ. But before she can do that, she gets spotted and the whole pipeline collapses. With her final chance gone, Joy breaks down because she doesn't know how to fix it.
Maybe this is what happens when you grow up.
Back to Riley, she manages to score a couple of goals and Anxiety is pumped up. The OG emotions call Pouchy, who drops a load of dynamite, and using it, they create an avalanche, bringing them and the bad memories back to the headquarters. As the game continues, Riley injures Grace and gets sidelined by the coach. This causes Anxiety to go into overdrive, doing everything she can to fix the mess. And of course, this does nothing but make Riley panic, as the same phrase, "I'm not good enough," repeats over and over. While Riley is in the midst of a panic attack, Joy pulls Anxiety from the controls to stop her from harming Riley anymore, and places the original sense of self on the pedestal. But this isn't enough, as the storm rages on. Joy realizes that she had been doing the wrong thing by shoving all of Riley's mistakes at the back of her mind. She decides to remove the old sense of self and lets all the good and bad memories create a brand new one, which is more complex than the previous ones. But this still isn't enough. Seeing this, Joy hugs it, and the other emotions follow suit, and finally, the storm subsides. Teamwork really does make the dream work after all. Back to Riley, we see Grace and Bree checking in on her, and Riley finally opens up. She reveals that she's been upset by the fact that they're leaving her behind. She apologizes for her behavior, and her friends completely accept her. Now, fast forward, Riley's warming up the Firehawks team, while still keeping touch with Grace and Bree. However, Anxiety, being the drama queen that she is, starts yapping about all the worst-case scenarios that Riley might face if she doesn't get selected. But Joy stops her and gives her own little corner in headquarters where she can just simply chill. Just like this chill guy. And yeah, Nostalgia is once again sent the way she came in. Oh, poor Nostalgia. Anger introduces his new buddy. Pouchy and Embarrassment's learning to be a bit more friendly. We get a montage of Riley's journey and her ever-changing sense of self as she gets a text about possibly joining the team. And with that, the movie ends. I hope you guys had a great time and enjoyed our video. If you did, feel free to drop a like and subscribe to our channel, so that you don't miss any future videos, of course. And yep, that's it for today, folks. We'll see you next time. See ya!